In this video, we're gonna be looking at some of the most hyped upcoming projects that you can mint, and we're also gonna be covering some of the latest major updates for some of the biggest projects. The first project that we're gonna be talking about is going to be Kaiju Kingz, right? And so last time we talked about Kaiju Kingz, they came out with a arcade style game, and it was kind of like a marketing play for them to promote their mutant kaijus. So the project just minted and they just revealed, so we're gonna be talking about some of the artwork that actually came out from this project. Right now I'm using Rarity Sniffer so it can, sort all these by ranking in terms of like which one's the most rare. And obviously, the first like 100, I already took a look at these, are pretty good. The art itself is pretty unique for an NFT. I would say they have probably the best mutant 2D pixel art in the game right now. And I'm sure a lot of people are going to, mimic their style and try to do something similar. So, they got this Gundam one, they got like, all sorts of variations. They have a Evangelion here. So I really like how they're using a lot of 90s references because probably those are the people that are going to be spending money to buy these things, right? Like a 15-year-old kid is not spending, a few $1,000s on this. So even if we're looking at, let's say OpenSea and we're looking at the floor of this project, I think for these looking ones, I think it looks like Ditto from Pokemon. People are selling it at floor, so that's probably not the one that people like. But then if you go beyond those ones, all the other floor ones are pretty okay. They're pretty cool, the ones with the skull. So overall, I would say the project's pretty unique. The art is pretty good. For me, they definitely met my expectations of, what type of work I was expecting from this project. So on their Discord, some news about Kaiju Kingz is that they're gonna launch another token called Scale. So I'm not really sure why they're creating another token when they already have our waste, but we'll see how that's gonna play out. And they also have a play to earn game coming out for, I think, Q4 in 2022. So that's something to keep an eye on if you're looking into getting into the Kaiju King community. And one thing that really impressed me about Kaiju Kingz is that when they came out with the Mutants, they actually had the mint price for 0.0666. And that's really good because a lot of these projects, they literally just came out like last month and they were already charging like 0.1 ETH or like 0.2 ETH. And Kaiju Kingz, which is already established, it already has like a pretty stable floor for the Genesis series. The fact that they would charge 0.066 really just shows that they're not trying to be greedy and suck a lot of liquidity out of the market, but they're just saying like, hey, this is a fair price that we think is fair. This is something you guys want to do, then go for it, right? And so I really respect the long-term vision, and they probably will make a lot more money on the secondary sales and things like that by earning their royalty. I can see that they're a team that's building for the long term instead of a project or a team that just creates a cash grab onto the next cash grab over and over and over, right? Okay, so the next project that we're gonna be talking about is going to be CatBlox, and this is a project that I recently heard about. They're gonna have 9999 units, and the project, if you look in OpenSea, there's a Genesis collection, it already minted, so the floor price is gonna be 0.56. Now, why this project is interesting is because literally just yesterday, they announced a collaboration with Puma, which is really big, right? Because we've seen that like Adidas collaborated with Bored Ape Yacht Club, G Money. We also seen, Nike buy out Artifact Studios, and so we're seeing Puma enter in the space by collaborating with CatBlox. The extent of their collaboration is still unknown. It's really just like this little trailer out here, but that's definitely something interesting. So when I'm looking at this project, I don't see a lot of like NFT Web3 utility. What I see is just like this 3D art of more like a toy kind of style. I just kind of see this as potentially being like another like iconic like NFT toy. Maybe they're gonna make physical products of these things in the future, but the issue is like there's not really much information about this. So the floor is like 0.56. I'm not saying you should buy it, but it's definitely interesting that Puma would collaborate with them, and I'm sure they did their due diligence before they announced a collaboration, or maybe they didn't, who knows. In my personal opinion, do I really think that the 3D art is like amazing? Not necessarily. I think it's okay for the NFT market, but where they kind of shine or stand out is that they have a big collaboration potentially with Puma, so that's something that I would kind of just put on my radar. But again, there's not a lot of Web3 utility and application or tokens or things like that, so it's gonna be hard for them to stand out for the rest of the crowd. All right, so next project that we're gonna be talking about is Garbage Friends. Now, they have 63,000 followers on Twitter, which is pretty big, and it's kind of like might create some trash for the metaverse, might not. No promises, no Discord, no sale, no nothing until further notice. So it's like they kind of just like having fun a little bit, right? And I guess the person behind it is kind of like pretty smart about marketing on Twitter, and they literally don't have like much. The first post they had was just like checking a cap, yo, Invisible Friends, how about hurry up and mint, blah 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 blah, right? So it's just a funny concept in my opinion. It's like almost like a meme. It's like, oh, like it's trash, but it kind of looks cool because the art is good and it's like kind of funny, right? And I think that's why a lot of people gravitate towards it. Now, the thing you have to know about this project is that it will probably mint out, it will probably sell out, the price probably will be super inflated, but you have to understand that the person who is behind this is behind Invisible Friends, which is a super hype project that is coming out pretty soon, I believe. The interesting thing is like this team is who is doing this Garbage Pal thing and Invisible Friends. They're also behind Slim Hoods and Mood Roller, right? And if you didn't know, I talked about these in the past where if you had one of these, you would get some kind of like whitelist potential opportunity for Invisible Friends. The floor of these were extremely high, like huge here, and then I'm probably like like after the whitelist event happened, prices just like dumped all the way to like 0.7, and then now it's 0.7-ish. It's the exact same thing with mood rollers, where these were like a couple Ethereum, now it's like 0.4. And the thing about this guy is like, he knows how to build hype online. He knows how to find an artist to create a certain specific art style that will get people extremely hyped. He knows how to get people to mint the project. He knows how to sell the project. He knows how to make a lot of money, right? Which is great, it's a valuable skill. The issue that I personally see is that he just keeps creating another project, another project, another project, and he's saying like, oh, if you buy this thing, you have a potential whitelist opportunity for my next super hype project. And then when that old project dumps and the new one's hyped, he's probably gonna repeat the cycle over and over, right? That's why I'm seeing with the Garbage Friends. It will probably be extremely hype, and if you have whitelist, you probably will make a lot of money if you just flip it. But the danger is like, this guy is just constantly making different projects, and there's no real long-term utility for each project, right? Like, is Garbage Friends gonna be here 10 years from now? Probably not. Is Mood Rollers gonna be here 1 year from now? Probably not, because who's spending time to actually build these projects? Nobody, right? Because he's always moving on to the next. So if you're a trader or a flipper and you understand these like hype cycles, yeah, you can flip your way into profit, but are these like long-term holds? In my opinion, not necessarily. But this guy's really good at marketing and building hype, so it's definitely something you should keep an eye out for. Okay, next thing we're gonna be talking about is the opposite of a cash grab, and that's gonna be Cyberkongz. And as you guys know, I'm a really big believer and holder of Cyberkongz. They actually recently launched a YouTube channel about 3 weeks ago, and then they've been coming out with a lot of AMAs recently. I guess they're doing it a lot more regularly, where they have like certain people in the Cyberkongz community actively talking about it, which is great, because it's like before it was kind of like a lot of mystery behind, you know, like what's going on, and only people in the Discord who had like a baby con could understand like what is actually happening. But now it's more public for everybody to kind of consume and learn. Why I want to bring this up is because if you think about all these projects, Cyberkongz is an innovator in the space when it comes to like technology. They kind of innovated on adding a token to an NFT, breeding babies, play to earn kind of mechanics, right? They're innovating on that. So they're innovators in the space, and everybody's really kind of copying them in a sense, right? Or taking heavy inspiration, and they don't always give credit. So if you're trying to learn about the space and you're trying to learn and train your eye on like what people building for the long term and what's people just going for a cash grab, I would definitely listen to all the recordings of like the Twitter spaces, because that's where you're gonna really learn about like what true innovation is versus people just building hype and trying to just take your money, right? Next project that we're gonna be talking about is going to be Satoshi Runners. So I'm not saying you should buy this. I'm not saying it's gonna be a great project. I'm just sharing it because I'm pretty sure a lot of people are gonna be talking about it. So it's just hype, right? When we're looking at Satoshi Runners, like what is it exactly? It's like a 2D pixel art kind of style. And you know, if you go onto their Medium accounts, you know, they kind of talk about like who they are, a little bit about their background, but you know, they're essentially a docs team for the most part. So when we're looking at their website, the art, is it great pixel art? I think it's okay. I don't think it's like super amazing personally. It kind of reminds me of Neo Tokyo combined with like maybe like a Kaiju Kingz and Cyberkongz putting it together kind of vibe. These kind of things are a little bit hard to read for me. The roadmap, you know, it's not really innovative in a sense, right? It's just like taking what other people have done, but just changing the picture from it. I'm not saying they won't be successful, but I'm just saying what I believe. Collaborations, they're saying they collaborate with all these people. You know, my guess, I could be wrong, and if I'm wrong, go ahead and correct me. They're just kind of like seeding out whitelist opportunities to these projects, and then they're calling that a collaboration, but it's not really like I'm building something with you. Maybe they are, but there's no information about that. I think it's just whitelist opportunity. So I think, you know, from an art style perspective, and then like them giving out the whitelist opportunities to these certain brands, it will probably sell out just because of like hitting a certain niche in the pixel space. They have a large team to do all the art and stuff like that. And I think people are gonna be like, oh, this is gonna be the next thing, so everyone's gonna buy it, but it doesn't mean it's gonna be good, right? Where I have a little bit of some red flags is when we're looking at their Medium. They're kind of saying like, you know, for NFTs, the projects that stood out were CryptoPunks, Kaiju Kingz, Galactic Egg, Sported Yacht Club, right? These projects sell at important areas. Where this is kind of weird for me is because they put in Kaiju Kingz, but they left out Cyberkongz, and then like even Kaiju Kingz recognizes that they took a lot of inspiration from Cyberkongz. So why wouldn't this project like mention them at all? I think that's a little bit of a red flag for me. They're also referencing like Galactic Apes, but like Galactic Apes was a little bit of a rug pull where the founder just kind of like disappeared with the money and then gave the project to another person. I think he gave it to Kaiju Kingz actually, and then he left like 30 ETH in the wallet, which is just like 90K, but then he took out millions for himself, and then he left the project with 90K, and then he's like, all right, peace out guys. To say that projects that stood out were like Galactic Apes and stuff like that, it doesn't really put the green flags in line. But if you're somebody that trades off of hype, you know, I'm pretty sure the way they're kind of like wording their messaging and how they're trying to make themselves bigger than they really are, I think a lot of people will probably buy into the project, to be honest. If you know how to trade on that, then it could be a good opportunity for you to like get a whitelist and flip it or whatever the case is. but I just want to put it on your radar. But I also want to warn you of the dangers, and I want to also teach you these are the things to watch out for. And when in terms of like, is the team doxed? Are they really like in it for the NFT space? What are they really trying to do? Are they innovative? And not necessarily, you know, this project I don't think is innovative, but they probably will sell out. So the next project that we're going to be talking about is going to be Antonym. Now Antonym is kind of like a project by Ruben Cohen, so I like that he's doxed. You know, he has like Instagram and everything. And so essentially this guy, I guess he's an artist. So this project is kind of like a toy, like similar to like Kaz or like Carrefour. These things can probably be physical toys that you can get. There's not a lot of information about that, but I'm just speculating. They look good as like 3D models. And I've seen a lot of people on Twitter, established people, like say good things about them, you know, take that for what it is. But yeah, so it's an interesting project. You know, it really hits that 3D meta. He's getting the support from a lot of big influencers, so it's probably going to sell out. The danger here is that there's not a lot of like Web3 application. It's just kind of like, here's my art, it's really cool, I'm a really nice guy, I'm doxed, and here's my proposal, you guys want to check it out. It's kind of like that, you know? It's not like, oh, we're gonna create a game or a token, or like, here's the utility you get. As far as I know, there is no utility. It's just like a cool piece of art and a physical toy. So it's kind of like if an artist who likes to create, you know, like these vinyl toys decided to do an NFT project, that's what it is. So I don't expect it to be the next like Axie Infinity or anything. It's just like, it is what it is. And I think there's gonna be a certain niche for that market and people will actually buy it. Okay, so the next project we're gonna talk about is Anero. You know, there's not much information about this, but you know, I just kind of want to show you guys in case you want to follow them or join the Discord because it's quite new. They got this anime art style. I would say it's pretty good. It's very detailed. I'm not sure if that's gonna be the meta moving forward from like February and March, but it's pretty good. Like if this came out a month ago or 2 months ago, it would be super hot, but maybe they're a little bit late to the game. Again, not much information. There's no like play to earn mechanic. It's just like a good anime art style, which I can appreciate, but that's kind of pretty much it. Their website, it's not even up yet, so they just have a Twitter page. But if you want to follow them and then maybe join their Discord and try to get whitelisted for that, you know, it's something to check out as well. And if you want the latest updates on all these NFT projects and you want alpha in real time, make sure to join the Parallax Discord. Link is in the description, and I'll see you guys in the next one.